Failed former President Donald Trump is most likely going to lose the 2024 election, but his supporters haven't seemed to realize yet. They have their head buried in the sand and don't even seem to understand how unpopular Trump is among average Americans. So there are a few things I want to break down throughout this video. The youth vote, the suburban vote, some of Trump's financial struggles, some of Biden's financial success, and how this will all tie together to lead to a Biden victory. Let's break it down. Now, a lot of times you can't rely on polling when we're still 7 to 8 months out from an election. It tends to be skewed and doesn't tell the full picture, but there are trends that we can look at that will give us a hint at where things are headed. And right now, Joe Biden is trending in the right direction. That's because his re-election campaign has just kicked off and they are being relentless. They are aggressively attacking Donald Trump, even more so than in 2020. They are stopping in swing states more than Donald Trump is able to. They are setting up headquarters in all of these key states, and they are out fundraising Donald Trump very quickly. Let's break down some actual numbers. This Axios article says the big picture. North Carolina has been elusive for Democrats since 2008, but it's one of those few states where the presidential campaign is playing offense. A senior Biden official told Axios the campaign this month has opened 44 offices in Wisconsin, 12 to 14 offices in Pennsylvania, and 20 offices in Michigan. This comes off the back of Biden's very strong State of the Union speech. Let's look at the campaign events held since that State of the Union speech. In the initial phase of a long general election fight to November, Biden has traveled to every battleground state in the months since his State of the Union address, with visits to Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Trump has held just 2 campaign rallies in Ohio and Georgia in the same amount of time, in part because his schedule was complicated by his legal issues, where he denies all wrongdoing. At the same time, we are seeing Donald Trump's campaign war chest being drained from every angle as he has to pay off these legal fees, as Biden and his campaign keep hosting historic fundraisers where they'll raise $25 million in one night. They've raised more in one night than Donald Trump has raised in an entire month. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has been reduced to grifting in order to pay off these legal fees and help his campaign. For example, just the other day, he was trying to sell Bibles, his own version of the Bible, where he had political documents inside of it. And Fox News is again burying their head in the sand. Take a look at this clip of Fox News saying this is just a normal thing to do.
You know, President Trump selling a Bible is kind of a regular guy thing to be doing. It's not presidential, right? You know, you've got the sons or the brothers to do the selling of things. This is what Trump does. It takes him into people's kitchens, into their living rooms, while the left is sitting up on the highest mountain in the world, looking down on all of the hoi polloi. And there is Donald Trump once again reaching in and being himself and being able to relate to, I think, to the average person.
Also a lot.
Democrats aren't just sitting on the highest mountain looking down. We are sitting on a mountain full of cash that Biden is ready to aggressively spend throughout swing states. And there's more than enough Donald Trump quotes to play over and over on TV to make people hate him. This brings me to my next point. Donald Trump is trying to recreate some of the magic from 2016, where he was able to manipulate the media into constantly covering him by saying crazy things. He actually got hundreds of millions to billions of dollars of free advertising by news networks relentlessly covering him and doing it in the wrong way. They would sort of sanitize his comments, but now he's trying to say this inflammatory stuff. He's trying to call immigrants animals, and I know he actually believes that, but again, he's trying to rile people up and try to pander to the lowest common denominator of Americans, people who think that immigrants are animals, but it's not working. It's falling short. Compare that to Joe Biden's rhetoric and his attacks, his jabs. It has been so clean. He's played it so straightforward, and he's made some amazing jokes. Donald Trump just can't compete. Joe Biden is winning the hearts and the minds of average Americans, of independent voters. A lot lot of independent voters, a lot of people from the suburbs are sick of Donald Trump's apocalyptic rhetoric. This is very anecdotal, but I know at least 7 people who were staunch Trump supporters and are now going to vote for Biden or just abstain from voting after January 6th. And what does Donald Trump do? He doubles down on that January 6th rhetoric about freeing the hostages. He says that there will be a bloodbath in the automobile industry right after talking about how you won't have a country anymore if President Biden wins. I don't think his 2016 strategy of running as an outsider who's going to drain the swamp, who's going to save the country, is going to work again. And do I even need to mention the Republicans' attacks on women's reproductive rights? Over and over, they're trying to ban abortion, ban IVF. They even talk about banning contraception, banning birth control. And this went from something that was only a problem in red states to something that is now a national problem. People used to look at Florida and say, I don't live in Florida. These lifestyle threat laws regarding LGBTQ people, regarding book bans, regarding schools not being able to teach certain stuff, people used to say that won't affect me. But now Republicans have a plan to nationalize this. And I don't think they realize that most of the country does not want to live under a Christian theocracy like Project 2025 is planning. There may be a small fringe minority that are advocating for that, but the average American, the average independent voter does not want that. And that's what the MAGA campaign needs to attract. They very much so need these independent voters, these suburban voters, and they can't stop themselves from isolating them. That also brings me to my generation. My generation, during our most formative years, watched this shit show that was the Trump administration, and we're clearly sick of it. We're sick of the games. We're sick of the constant lies. We're sick of the constant attacks on our very lifestyle. I mean, someday we want to inhabit institutions that function. We don't want to take power in 10, 20 years whenever Gen Z starts to become the majority in Congress and not have a functioning country. That's something I've been trying to tell my generation relentlessly, that Biden does not have to be perfect, but you can go down the list on every single issue, and Biden is far, far better than Donald Trump. I mean, I personally love Biden, but I could understand why somebody my age would be disillusioned. But the answer to that is never, never to cede ground to MAGA lunatics who want to destroy the very foundations of our country. So there is a lot at stake this election, and we are trending in the right direction, but now is not the time to become complacent. Now is the time to become more aggressive and battle these terrible ideas in this marketplace of ideas that is America. Because something that I love about democracy is that we're able to have a free exchange of ideas, and most of the time the best ideas will come out on top. And right now the best ideas in America are liberal ones, are broad liberal ones about freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to marry who you want, freedom to express yourself and dress how you want. And these fundamental things are under attack from the right. And the consequences of Donald Trump winning this election reach far beyond domestic policy. Our foreign policy would be crippled. These coalitions, these allies that we've spent decades building up would fall. I'm sure Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are salivating at the idea of Donald Trump getting back into office and weakening these coalitions. Because NATO is incredibly important. And to be honest, Vladimir Putin is one of the best advocates for NATO. I mean, people were forgetting why it existed until Vladimir Putin decided to invade Ukraine. Now we have Sweden, now we have Finland joining NATO because they see this authoritarian threat that is looming on their border. But we also have an authoritarian threat looming in America. This is a worldwide problem, and if Donald Trump gets back in office, that will only embolden other authoritarian leaders in other parts of the world. My name is Mockler. If you agree with the contents of this video, leave a like, comment a blue heart so I know you got this far. Subscribe. Most of all, have a great day.